Hello and welcome to TES Reading Club. Today, we are here to read out Act 2 of The Way of the Word. This act will introduce us to some characters who were not there in Act 1, and we'll also get to know not just the style of William Congreve, but also the society's mindset and values. It shows how important literature is in our lives. Had it not been for literature, people of our generation would never have known what was happening during the time when mobile phones and TVs and other technology did not exist. And as a respected teacher, Dr. Kalyani Valat always suggests, and most of us do realize that it's important for literary scholars to have first hand information, not just about the text, but also about the society. So here we are to read out classics to you. Oh, by the way, being a literature student, if you haven't checked out our previous videos yet, I bet you should now. On that note, over to a narrator for today, Princey.
Acts 2, Scene 1, St. James Park. Mrs. Fainall and Mrs. Marwood.
Dear Marwood, if we will be happy, we must find the means in ourselves and among ourselves. Men are ever in extremes, either doting or averse, while they are lovers. If they have higher and sense, their jealousies and insupportable, and when they cease to love, we ought to think at least they loathe. They look upon us with horror and distaste. They meet us like the ghost of what we bear, and as from such fly up from us.
True, 'tis an unhappy circumstance of life that love should ever die before us, and what the man so often should outlive the lover. But say what you will, 'tis better to be left than never to have been loved. To pass our youth in dull indifference, to refuse the sweets of life because they once must leave us, is as preposterous as to wish to have been born old, because we one day must be old. For my part, my youth may wear and waste, but it shall never rust in my possession.
Then it seems you dissemble an aversion to mankind only in compliance to my mother's humor.
Certainly, to be free, I have no taste of those insipid, dry discourses with which our sex of force must entertain themselves apart from men. We may affect endearments to each other, profess eternal friendships, and seem to dote like lovers, but 'tis not in our natures long to persevere. Love will resume his empire in our breasts, and every heart, or soon or late, receive and readmit from him its lawful tyrant.
Bless me, how have I been deceived? Why you profess a libertine?
You see my friendship by my freedom. Come, be as sincere. Acknowledge that your sentiments agree with mine.
Never.
You hate mankind?
Heartily, inveterately,
Your husband?
most transcendently, though I say it matriously.
Give me your hand upon it.
There,
I join with you. What I have said has been to try you.
is it possible? To hate those vipers men?
I have done hating them, and am now come to despise them. The next thing I have to do is eternally forget them.
There spoke the spirit of an Amazon, a Penthesilea.
And yet I am thinking sometimes to carry my aversion further.
How?
Faith, by marrying, if I could but find one that loved me very well and would be thoroughly sensible of ill uses, I think I should do myself the violence of undergoing the ceremony.
You would not make him a cuckold.
No, but I'd make him believe I did, and that's as bad.
Why had not you as good do it?
Oh, if he should ever discover it, he would then know the worst and be out of his pain, but I would have him ever to continue upon the rack of fear and jealousy.
Ingenious mischief, would thou wert married to Mirabel?
Would I wear?
You change color.
Because I hate him.
So do I, but I can hear him named. But what reason have you to hate him in particular?
I never loved him. He is, as always was, insufferably proud.
By the reason you give for your aversion, one would think it dissembled, for you have laid a fault to his charge, of which his enemies must acquit him.
Oh, and it seems you are one of his favorable enemies. Methinks you look a little pale, and now you flush again.
Do I? I think I am a little sick, O the Serene.
What ails you?
My husband, don't you see him? He turned short upon me unawares and has almost overcome me.
Scene 2. Fainall and Mirabell to Mrs. Marwood and Mrs. Fainall.
Ha ha ha. He comes opportunely for you.
For you? For he has brought Mirabell with him.
My dear,
My soul,
you don't look well today, child.
do you think so?
He is the only man that does, madam.
The only man that would tell me so at least, and the only man from whom I could hear it without mortification.
Oh, my dear, I'm satisfied of your tenderness. I know you cannot resent anything from me, especially what is in effect of my concern.
Mr. Mirabell, my mother interrupted you in a pleasant relation last night. I would fain hear it out.
The persons concerned in that affair have yet a tolerable reputation. I'm afraid Mr. Fainall will be censorious.
He has a humor more prevailing than his curiosity, and will willingly dispense with the hearing of one scandalous story to avoid giving an occasion to make another by being seen to walk with his wife. This way, Mr. Mirabell, and I dare promise you will oblige us with us both.
Scene 3. Mrs. Fainall, Mrs. Marwood.
Excellent creature. Well, sir, if I should live to be rid of my wife, I should be a miserable man.
I?
For having only that one hope, the accomplishment of it of consequence must put an end to all my hopes. And what a wretch is he who must survive his hopes. Nothing remains when that day comes but to sit down and weep like Alexander when he wanted other worlds to conquer.
Will you not follow them?
Faith, I think not.
Pray let us. I have a reason.
You are not jealous?
Of whom?
Of Mirabell.
If I am, is it inconsistent with my love to you that I am tender of your honor?
You would intimate them as if there were a fellow feeling between my wife and him?
I think she does not hate him to that degree she would be thought.
But he, I fear, is too insensible.
It may be you are deceived.
It may be so. I do not now begin to apprehend it.
What?
That I have been deceived, madam, and you are false.
That I am false? What mean you?
To let you know, I see through all your arts. Come, you both love him, and both have equally dissembled your aversion. Your mutual jealousies of one another have made you clash till you have both struck fire. I have seen the warm confession reddening on your cheeks and sparkling from your eyes.
You do me wrong.
I do not. To ask for my ease to oversee and willfully neglect the gross advances made him by my wife, that by permitting her to be engaged, I might continue unsuspected in my pleasures and take you oftener to my arms in full security. But would you think, because the nodding husband wouldn't be, that ere the watchful lover slept?
And wherewithal can you reproach me?
With infidelity, with loving another, with love of Mirabell.
'Tis false. I challenge you to show an instance that can confirm your groundless accusation. I hate him.
And wherefore do you hate him? He is insensible, and your resentment follows his neglect. An instance, the injuries you have done him are a proof. Your interposing in his love. What cause had you to make discoveries of his pretended passion, to undeceive the credulous aunt, and be the officious obstacle of his match with Milamont?
My obligations to my lady urged me. I had professed a friendship to her, and could not see her easy nature to so abused by that dissembler.
What? Was it conscience then? Professed a friendship? Oh, the pious friendship of the female sex.
More tender, more sincere, and more enduring than all the vain and empty vows of men, whether professing love to us or mutual faith to one another.
You are my wife's friend too.
Shame and ingratitude? Do you reproach me? You upbraid me? Have I been false to her? Though strict fidelity to you and sacrifice my friendship to keep my love inviolate? And have you the baseness to charge me with the guilt, unmindful of the merit? To you it should be meritorious that I have been vicious. And do you reflect that guilt upon me which should lie buried in your bosom?
You misinterpret my reproof. I meant but to remind you of the slight account you once could make of his textiles when set in competition with your love to me.
'Tis false. You urge it with deliberate malice. It was spoken in scorn, and I never forgave it.
Your guilt, not your resentment, begets your rage. If yet you loved, you could forgive a jealousy, but you are stern to find you are discovered.
It shall be all discovered. You shall be discovered. Be sure you shall. I can but be exposed. If I do it myself, I shall prevent your baseness.
Why? What will you do?
Disclose it to your wife. Own that has passed between us.
Angie,
By all my wrongs, I'll do it. I'll publish to the world the injuries you have done me, both in my fame and fortune. With both I trusted you, you bankrupt in honor, as indigent of wealth.
your fame I have preserved. Your fortune has been bestowed as the prodigality of your love would have it. In pleasures which we both have shared. Yet, had not you been false, I had ere this repaid. 'Tis true, had you permitted Mirabell with Millamant to have stolen their marriage, my lady had been incensed beyond all means of reconcilement. Millamant had forfeited the moiety of her fortune, which then would have descended to my wife. And wherefore did I marry? But to make lawful prize of a rich widow's wealth, and squander it on love and you.
Deceit and frivolous pretense.
Death, am I not married? What pretense? Am I not imprisoned? Fettered? Have I not a wife? Nay, a wife that was a widow, a young widow, a handsome widow, and would be again a widow. But that I have a heart of proof, and something of a constitution to bustle through the ways, wedlock, and this world. Will you get me reconciled to truth and me?
Impossible. Truth and you are inconsistent. I hate you and shall forever.
Or loving you?
I loathe the name of love after such uses, and next to the guilt with which you would asperse me, I scorn you most. Farewell.
Nay, we must not part thus.
Let me go.
Come, I'm sorry.
I care not. Let me go. Break my hands. Do. I'd leave them to get loose.
I would not hurt you for the world. Have I no other hold to keep you here?
Well, I have deserved it all.
You know, I love you.
Poor dissembling. Oh, that well, it is not yet.
What? What is it not yet? Was it not yet? It is not yet too late?
No, it is not yet too late. I have that comfort.
It is to love another.
But not to loathe, detest, abhor mankind, myself, and the whole treacherous world.
Nay, this is extravagance. Come, I ask your pardon. No tears. I was to blame. I could not love you and be easy in my doubts. Pray, forbear. I believe you. I'm convinced I have done you wrong. And anyway, everywhere will make amends. I'll hate my wife, yet more damn her. I'll part with her, rob her of all his worth, and we will retire somewhere, anywhere to another world. I'll marry thee. Be pacified. Step, they come. Hide your face, your tears. You have a mask? Wait a moment. This way, this way. Be persuaded.
Scene 4. Mirabell and Mrs. Fainall.
They are here yet?
They are turning into the other walk.
While I only hated my husband, I could bear to see him, but since I have despised him, he is too offensive.
Oh, you should hate with prudence.
Yes, for I have loved with indiscretion.
You should have just so much disgust for your husband as may be sufficient to make you relish your lover.
You have been the cause that I have loved without bounds, and you set limits to that aversion for which you have been the occasion. Why did you make me marry this man?
Why do we daily commit disagreeable and dangerous actions? To save that idle reputation. If the familiarities of our loves has produced that consequence of which you were apprehensive, where could you have fixed a father's name with the credit but on a husband? I knew Fainall to be a man lavish of his morals, an interested and professing friend, a false and a designing lover, yet one whose wit and outward fair behavior have gained a reputation with the town, enough to make that woman stand excused who has suffered herself to be won by his addresses. A better man ought not to have been sacrificed to the occasion. A verse has not answered to that purpose. When you are weary of him, you know your remedy.
I ought to stand in some degree of credit with you, Mirabel.
In justice to you, I have made you privy of my whole design and put you in power to ruin or advance my fortune.
Whom have you instructed to represent your pretended uncle?
Windmill, my servant.
He is an humble servant to Phobile, my mother's woman, and may win her to your interest.
Care is taken for that. She is won and won by this time. They are married this morning.
Who?
Waitwell and Foible. I would not tempt my servant to betray me by trusting him too far. If your mother, in hopes to ruin me, should consent to marry my pretended uncle, he might, like Moskine the fox, stand upon terms, so I made him sure beforehand.
So, if my poor mother is caught in a contract, you will discover the imposture betimes and release her by producing a certificate of her gallant's former marriage?
Yes, upon condition that she consent to my marriage with her niece and surrender the moiety of her fortune in her possession.
She talked last night for endeavoring at a match between Melament and your uncle.
That was by Foible's direction and my instructions that she might seem to carry it more privately.
Well, I have an opinion of your success, for I believe my lady will do anything to get an husband, and when she has this, which you have provided for her, I suppose she will submit to anything to get rid of him.
Yes, I think the good lady would marry anything that resembled a man, though it were no more than what a butler could pinch out of a napkin.
Female frailty, we must all come to it if we live to be old and feel the craving of a false appetite when the true is decayed.
An old woman's appetite is depraved like that of a girl. This the green sickness of a second childhood, and, like the faint offer of a latter spring, serves but to usher in the fall, and withers with an affected bloom.
Here's your mistress.
Scene 5. To them, Mrs. Millamant, Whitwood, and Mincing.
Here she comes, I faith, full sail, with her fans spread and streamers out, and the shoal of fools for tenders. Ha! No, I cry her mercy.
I see but one poor empty scholar, and he tows her woman after him.
You seem to be unattended, madam. You used to have the beau monde throng after you, and a flock of gay fine crook hovering round you.
Like moths about a candle, I had like to have lost my comparison for want of breath.
Oh, I have denied myself. Yes, today I have walked as fast through the crowd.
As a favorite just disgraced and with as few followers.
Dear Mr. Whitwood, truce with your similitudes, for I am as sick of them.
As a physician of a good air, I cannot help it, madam, though it is against myself.
Yet again, Mincing, stand between me and his wit.
Do, Mrs. Mincing, like a screen before a great fire. I confess I do blaze today. I'm too bright.
But dear Milament, why were you so long?
Long, Lord, have I not made violent haste? I have asked every living thing I met for you. I have inquired after you. as after a new fashion.
Madam, truce with your similitudes. No, you met her husband and did not ask him for her.
By your leave, Whitwood, that were like inquiring after an old fashion to ask a husband for his wife.
Hum, a hit, a palpable hit, I confess it.
You were dressed before I come abroad?
Aye, that's true. Oh, but then I had missing. What had I? Why was I so long?
Oh, ma'am, your ladyship stayed to pursue a packet of letters.
Oh, I letters. I had letters. I am persecuted with letters. I hate letters. Nobody knows how to write letters, and yet once was am. One does not know why. They serve one to pit up one's hair.
Is that the way? Pray, madam, do you pen up your hair with all your letters? I find I must keep copies.
Only with those in verse, Mr. Whitwood. I have never pinned up my hairs with prose. I think I tried once, mincing.
Oh, ma'am, I shall never forget it.
I, poor mincing, tiffed and tiffed all the morning.
Till I had the cramp in my fingers. I'll vow, ma'am, and all to no purpose. But when your ladyship pens it up with poetry, it fits so pleasant the next day as anything, and is so pure and so crisp.
Indeed, so crisp.
You are such a critic, Mr. Whitwood.
Mirabelle, did you take exception last night? Oh, I, and went away. Now I think, aren't I am angry? No. Now I am think, aren't I am pleased. For I believe I gave you some pain.
Does that please you?
Infinitely, I love to give pain.
You would affect a cruelty which is not in your nature. Your true vanity is in the power of pleasing.
Oh, I ask your pardon for that. One's cruelty is one's power. And when one parts with one's cruelty, one parts with one's power. And when one has parted with that, I fancy one's old and ugly.
I suffer your cruelty to ruin the object of your power, to destroy your lover. And then how vain, how lost a thing you will be. Nay, 'tis true, you're no longer handsome when you have lost your lover. Your beauty dies upon the instant, for beauty is the lover's gift. 'Tis he bestows your charms, your glass is all a cheat, the ugly and the old, whom the looking glass mortifies, and yet after commendation can be flattered by it, and discover beauties in it, for that reflects our praises rather than your face.
Oh, the vanity of this man! Fennel, did I hear him? If they did not commend us, we were not handsome. Now you must know they could not commend one if one was not handsome. Beauty the lover's gift. Lord, what is a lover? That it can give? Why? One makes lover as fast as one pleases, and they live as long as one pleases, and they die as soon one pleases, and then if one pleases, one makes more.
Very pretty. Why, you make no more of making lovers, madam, than of making so many card matches.
One no more owes one's beauty to a lover's, one's wit to an echo. They can but reflect what we look and say, vain empty things, if we were silent or unseen and want a being.
Yet, to those two vain empty things, you owe to the greatest pleasures of your life.
How so?
To your lover, you owe the pleasure of hearing yourselves praised, and to an echo, the pleasure of hearing yourselves talk.
But I know a lady that loves talking so incessantly. She won't give an echo fair play. She has that everlasting rotation of tongue that an echo must wait till she dies before it can catch her last words.
Oh, fiction. Fennel, let us leave this man.
Draw off, Whitwood.
Aside to Mrs. Fainall.
Immediately, I have a word or two for Mr. Whitwood.
Scene 6. Mrs. Millamant, Mirabelle, mincing.
I would beg a little private audience too. You had the tyranny to deny me last night, though you knew I came to impart a secret to you that concerned my love.
You saw I was engaged.
Unkind. You had the leisure to entertain a herd of fools, things who visit you from their excessive idleness, bestowing on your easiness the time which is the encumbrance of their lives. How can you find delight in such society? It is impossible that they should admire you. They are not capable, or if they were, it should be to you as a mortification. For sure, to please a fool is some degree of folly.
I please myself. Besides, sometimes to converse with fools is for my health.
Your health? Is there a worse disease than conversation of fools?
Yes, the vapors. Fools has physics for it. Next to esophageal.
You are not in a course of fools.
Mirabelle, if you persist in this offensive freedom, you will displease me. I think I must resolve after all have to give, not to have you. We shan't agree.
Not in our physic. It may be.
And and yet your distemper in all likelihood will be the same, for we shall be sick of one another. I shan't endure to be reprimanded, not instructed. It is so dull to act always by advice, and so tedious to be told of one's faults. I can't bear it. Well, I won't leave you, Mirabelle. I am resolved. I think you may go. Ha ha ha. What would you give that you could help loving me?
I would give something that you did not know. I could not help it.
Come, don't look grave then. Well, what do you say to me?
I say that a man may as soon make a friend by his wit or fortune by his honesty as win a woman with plain dealing and sincerity.
Sententious Mirabelle, pretty don't look with that violent and inflexible wise face, like Solomon at the dividing of the child in an old tapestry hanging.
You are merry, madam, but I would persuade you for a moment to be serious.
What? With that face? No. If you keep your countenance, it is impossible I should hold mine. Well, after all, there is something very moving in a lovesick face. Ha ha ha. Well, I want, I would not laugh. Don't be peevish. Hugo, now I will be melancholy as watchlight. Well, Mirabelle, if you ever you will win me, woo me now. Nay, if you are so tedious, fear you well. I see, they are walking away.
Can you not find in the variety of your disposition one moment?
To hear you tell me foibles married and your plot like to speed? No.
But how you came to know it?
Without the help of the devil, you can't imagine, unless she should tell me herself. Which of the two it have been, I will leave you consider. And when you have done thinking of that, think of me.
Scene 7. Mirabelle alone.
I have something more, gone. Think of you, to think of a whirlwind, though it were in a whirlwind. Were a case of more steady contemplation, a very tranquility of mind and mansion. A fellow that lives in a windmill has not a mere whimsical dwelling than heart of a man that is lodged in a woman. There is no point of the compass of which they cannot turn, and by which they are not turned, and by one as well as another, for motion, not method, is their occupation. To know this and yet continue to be in love is to be made wise from the dictates of reason, and yet persevere to play the fool by the face of instinct. Oh, here come my pair of turtles. What? Billing so sweetly? Is not Valentine's Day over with you yet?
Scene 8. To him, Windmill and foible.
Sarah, wait well. Why? Sure. You think you were married for your own recreation and not for my conveniency.
Your pardon, sir. With submission, we have indeed been solacing in lawful delights, but still with an eye to business, sir. I have instructed her as well as I could. If she can take your direction as readily as my instructions, sir, your affairs are in a prosperous way.
Give you joy, Mrs. Foible.
Oh, lass, sir, I'm so ashamed. I'm afraid my lady has been in 1,000 inquietudes for me. But I protest, sir, I made as much haste as I could.
That she did indeed, sir. It was my fault that she did not make more.
That I believe.
But I told my lady, as you instructed me, sir, that I had a prospect of seeing Sir Rowland, your uncle, and that I would put her ladyship's picture in my pocket to show him, which I'll be sure to say has made him so enamored of her beauty that he burns with impatience to lie at her ladyship's feet and worship the original.
Excellent, Foible. Matrimony has made you eloquent in love.
I think she has profited, sir. I think so.
You have seen Madame Millamant, sir?
Yes.
I told her, sir, because I did not know that you might find an opportunity. She had so much company last night.
Your diligence will merit more. In the meantime,
Gives money.
Oh dear sir, your humble servant.
Pow!
stand off, sir. Not a penny. Go on and prosper, Foible. The lease shall be made good and the farm stocked if we succeed.
I don't question your generosity, sir, and you need not doubt of success. If you have no more commands, sir, I'll be gone. I'm sure my lady is at her toilet and can't dress till I come. Oh dear, I'm sure that
Looking out.
was Mrs. Marwood that went by in a mask. If she has seen me with you, I'm sure she'll tell my lady. I'll make haste home and prevent her. Your servant, sir. By the way, Waitwell.
Sir Roland, if you please. The judge
Scene 9.
whispered
Mirabelle,
upon.
Waitwell.
Sir Roland, if you please. The judge so pert upon her preferment, she forgets herself.
Come, sir. Will you endeavor to forget yourself and transform into Sir Roland?
Why, sir? It will be impossible. I should remember myself, married, knitted, and attended all in one day. It is enough to make any man forget himself. The difficulty will be how to recover my acquaintance and familiarity with my former self and fall from my transformation to a reformation into Waitwell. Nay, I shan't be quite the same Waitwell neither, for now I remember me, I am married, and cannot be my own man again. Ay, there's my grief. That's the sad change of life, to lose my title and yet keep my wife.
End of Act 2.
The end of Act 2. We heard some amazing dialogues of restoration comedy. I'm sure you all enjoyed it. Any suggestions for our improvement would be welcome. Don't forget to leave a comment below and like the video as well. See you next Sunday. Bye bye till then.